Hey everyone, Shnickerman here, back with another video. I know it's been a little bit of time, but I'm back for another video as we wind up the end of 2021. As you may remember from an older video, I took a look at my gaming backlog and looked at how many games I still hadn't played. So for 2020, I decided to beat, or at least play, as many games as I could for my collection. So I ended up playing about 20 plus different games, I think 23 or 24. And right now we're going to look at the top 10 games that I played this year. And just a note, this is not necessarily games that came out this year or maybe even in 2020. These are just games from my backlog. So I don't want to hear any complaints of like, where's the new Halo or where's the new whatever. And you can let me know what you think in the comments, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. All right, so first we want to just do a few honorable mentions. Now, these games are not necessarily games that I beat, but I did play a very substantial amount of. The first one is Jurassic World Evolution, which is a simulation type strategy game based off the Jurassic World franchise with Chris Pratt. And it was made by the same creators as some of these other games, such as Zoo Tycoon. This game was really fun. It felt like kind of a breath of fresh air for the simulation style game. What's also really interesting about it, there's a lot of stuff to keep track of. The dinosaurs escape a lot, which is kind of frustrating. You have to go tranquilize them and then get a helicopter to bring them back into their cage. But what's really cool about it is there's this mechanic where you have the Jeep that has to go out and either cure dinosaurs or repair fences, etc. And you can actually basically drive the Jeep as well. So there's a simulation aspect, and you can also just drive around, take pictures of your dinosaurs. So it almost kind of feels like a little bit of Pokemon Snap mixed in there. There's tons of different challenges and different types of maps that have negative things, like some have storms that ruin your island pretty quickly. Sometimes it's just the amount of space that you have that's a constraint, all this kind of stuff. This game is really, really good. There's also a sequel as well that just recently came out, so be sure to check that one out if that seems interesting to you. Next game's Evil Genius 2. This is a sequel to a game that came out, I think, in 2000 or so called Evil Genius for PC. You play one of three evil geniuses in the first one. You have to create your evil hideout and hire all these different minions and make traps when other evil geniuses try to invade your space. It's really quirky, really weird. There's a lot of interesting moments from the first one. Pretty good sense of humor on this game. The second one is a bit different. I want to say it's better in most ways because of just the amount of years that have gone by, but there are also some things that are frustrated about it. This is why it's just an honorable mention, but still worth the check out if you like simulation type games. So now that we're done with the honorable mentions, let's get into the actual top 10. Let's start from number 10. So number 10 is going to be DuckTales Remastered. So this is a pretty much straight remaster made by WayForward Games, who made Shantae and a lot of other good licensed platformers as well. It stays true to the original while having really amazing updated music and graphics. The game is fairly short, so it keeps it towards the bottom of the list at number 10. But I do feel like if you've never played this game, especially the original, just give it a shot. It's just a quick platformer. It's a lot of fun based off the animation of the same name. So number 9, until fairly recently, this was basically the only Guardians of the Galaxy game that existed. This was Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy, so similar to the Walking Dead games that everyone's been familiar with by Telltale. This is just a different spin on Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, it's not really based off the movie characters necessarily. Some of them look the same, but there's more of the comic story involved. It was just a lot of fun to kind of play through these characters that I love. I'm a big Marvel fan, so I might be a little bit biased, but I don't think that many people talked about this game when it came out. Now you can pick it up for really cheap, and you know, it's a few hours of experience, but I think it's well worth it. Number 8 is similar to number 9 as well, where we have Telltale's Game of Thrones. Now this is a really underrated Telltale game in my opinion. Game of Thrones follows a bunch of characters, unique stories. It even ends on a cliffhanger, and there is no sequel or anything related to it. But I had a lot of fun with this. There's some quick time events that make it pretty interesting. The story is unique and just another fun game that people kind of forget about. And it doesn't take too much time or much effort to play through it, but it's got a pretty nice story. So definitely check that out if that sounds interesting to you. All right, next one, Doom Eternal. What can I say about Doom Eternal? For me, it took me a while to get a hang of these kind of parkour mechanics and the way that you maneuver the terrain. It's definitely harder than the original, or at least Doom 2016, I want to say. But once you get into it, man, this game, I could not put this game down. It's a fantastic game. I love that Doom came back so strong in the 2010s and into 2021. Just feels right. I mean, the game is in essence the same type of game, but there's collectibles in there. The soundtrack just keeps pumping and gets you hyped, and it's just blood and guts and demons everywhere. It's amazing. All right, so the next game, number 6, is going to be a game called Halloween Forever, which I actually did a review of. I'll put a link here for that review. But essentially, it's a 2D platformer similar to Ghouls and Ghosts or Ghosts and Goblins. It's got a nice soundtrack. It's got a bunch of cool, fun characters that all have different mechanics. And just definitely check it out. It's basically just like a few dollars on eShops of all kinds. I think there's like a physical Switch version and PS4 and Vita version, which are more expensive, but don't feel like you have to buy those versions. It's very suitable for Halloween and just a lot of fun overall. Again, the game does not take too long to complete, but that's kind of what I more focused on this year, was just get through fun, quick games. The next one will probably surprise you. I'll make an extended review about it a bit later, but this one is The Amazing Spider-Man for Xbox 360 or PS3, based off the Andrew Garfield series that came out 10 plus years ago now at this point. But what's cool about this game is, you know, it's an open world, but it's fairly linear in most parts of the game. But what makes it cool is the unique story, and it kind of is a sequel to the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, which includes the Lizard and a bunch of these other human-animal hybrid. And as a huge Spider-Man fan, the story just felt really interesting. Now, the combat is not amazing. It took the developers a few games to kind of get that tuned in properly, so be aware of that. The combat can be fairly tedious, but I think it's worth playing through. There's a lot of different collectibles and stuff for Marvel and Spider-Man fans. Definitely worth checking out. The number 4 spot, we have Forza Horizon. This game is an Xbox exclusive. It's kind of like, they like to call it, you know, Forza is more of a simulation game. This is more of kind of like a Need for Speed style game, but they all take place in music festivals, and this one has a lot of good indie rock. The soundtrack is really nice. You get rewarded for doing kind of like trick things when you're driving, like drifting or going tightly around corners and all this different stuff that levels up your car. And basically, when you join the festival, you're like a nobody and you need to work your way up and pass all these other cars by doing different challenges. And some of the challenges are just races. Other ones are like you have to beat a plane in a race, and a lot more interesting things like that. It's definitely worth playing. It's an underrated series for sure. In the number 3 spot, we have Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. This is a indie, I want to say, adventure game. I have a review about this as well. It was made by a small developer from Massachusetts area. It's really fun. It only takes a few hours to complete it, but it's full of different video games, Twitch references, anime references, and it's just really lighthearted and fun and with a good sense of humor, and the animation and the character designs are really amazing. If you haven't heard about it, it's very cheap. You can pick it up and give it a shot. Then in the number 2 spot coming in, we have kind of last year's hit game, Hades. I don't really know what needs to be said about this game that hasn't already been said in a bunch of different reviews. Characters and the story are super interesting. The art design is really good. The combat itself is really satisfying. You want to play again and again until you complete the game. I unfortunately didn't unlock the final ending of the game, but I put in lots and lots of hours into this game and I had a lot of fun. If you haven't checked it out, be sure to do so. And then in the number 1 spot, we finally have the game that I should have played a long time ago, which I've owned multiple copies of for many years, and it's Shovel Knight. And nowadays you can buy Shovel Knight that comes with all the downloadable content, which I highly recommend you do, because once you have an amazing time with the combat, the music, and the gameplay involved in Shovel Knight that makes you feel like you're back in the NES era, you'll want to basically go and play through all the different DLCs, which are standalone games, all the different characters that have different mechanics on how they attack that make it fresh. King Knight, for example, has a card game involved. There's all different kinds of fun little things, lots of Easter eggs, just a really enjoyable game. I recently went back again to complete King Knight's story, and I still had a blast within the first 10 minutes of playing it again. Highly recommend this. If you've never played Shovel Knight, go out right now and play Shovel Knight. That's my top 10 games that I played this year. I hope everybody enjoyed watching this video. Let me know in the comments whether there are some games that you played recently that you think are in your top 10 games. Even let me know what top 10 games you played from this year that released. And as always, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.